Good morning and greetings from Northumberland. It's Sunday the 19th of July, I think the 6th Sunday after Trinity, I hope. And it's a beautiful, lovely dry morning in Northumberland. That's particularly important for us today because for the first time since March, I shall be celebrating the Eucharist with a congregation from one of our churches. This morning at 9 o'clock in the little village of Ellingham, in the beautiful little churchyard there. Ellingham is between the A1 and the coast. I shall be celebrating the Eucharist for, I guess, a large handful of people as we start the process back to our worshipping regularly on Sundays. It's an important day for the churches. It's an important day for me, and I must confess to being slightly nervous at doing this today. So please keep us in your prayers. If you're going to the service in Ellingham, you might not want to listen to this because, in essence, this reflection is the kernel of the sermon I'll be giving. The Gospel today comes from St. Matthew, chapter 13, and it's the story of the wheat and the tares, the wheat and the weeds, the wheat and the darnel, whichever way you want to use it. Various translations use various descriptions. And at the end of it, Jesus is asked to explain it. You remember the seed is planted, it grows, and there are weeds and there are wheat. What do we do? And the master says, leave it, and we'll sort it out at Judgment Day, at Harvest Day. And then the disciples ask Jesus to explain. And he says, there's the soil, and the one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man, and the one who sows the evil seed is the evil one. And so you have the children of the Son of Man and the children of the evil one. They grow together. It's only at the Judgment Day that it's sorted out. And it's a really powerful story. But I read some time ago another interpretation which has always helped me with the story. Because I don't know about you, but I know I'm not all good. I'd like to be, but I'm not. And neither am I all bad. There are bits of me that I really don't like, but I'm not all bad. And actually, most people I meet are a mixture of good and bad. I don't know whether I've ever truly met a wicked person. I'm not sure. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. And although I've met people who are full of goodness, most of them have had faults. And I find it helpful to think of this parable. And remember, Jesus tells us parables so that we can, in a sense, interpret them in our own lives. I find this parable useful to go back to the question I asked the other week, is what sort of soil are we? But more importantly, what grows in the soil? It seems to me that our lives, our soil, our field, is a battleground between the seed that Jesus sows, the seed of love and joy and peace and patience and gentleness and self-control, and the seed of the evil one, which is much more selfish and self-centered and using of other people. And there's a sense in which all our lives are a battleground between the good and the evil potentialities that we have. And part of the decision about living our lives is, what do we nurture? What do I nurture in my life that enables me to be the person that God wants me to be? Do I let the things that Jesus sows in my life come to fruition and fill my life so that the weeds are so much less significant? I don't think we'll ever get rid of the weeds. I've been doing more gardening in lockdown than normal. And only yesterday, as I was looking at the new rockery I've created, I spotted 6 weeds, which I immediately had to go in and pluck up. But the little blighters keep coming back. And that's also true in my life. I deal with things, but then the little blighters keep coming back, and I guess it's true in your life. So for me, this parable of the wheat and the tares, the wheat and the weeds, the wheat and the darnel, is a parable about my life. And do I let that which Jesus plants in my life flourish, or do I let the other things flourish? But remembering that in the fullness of time, it can only be dealt with not by me, but by God's loving judgment and forgiveness. May God bless us today, whether we worship at home, whether we worship in a church or outdoors. May God bless and keep us all.